Hi, friends. Welcome to Take Courage. I'm Diana Neal, and I am on tonight with Miranda Trudeau. As you know, I've been announcing and letting everyone know that we're going to be on tonight. We are super excited. As you get on, just let us know that you're on. Let us know your name, where you're from, and we'd love to say hello and get started. I'm going to introduce Miranda in just a bit. However, yeah, we'll just wait for you to come on and let us know that you're on, and we're going to have a fantastic night. So,
We are.
yeah, thank you so much, Miranda, for being on with us. I know you've been a part of the group for a little bit, so you have an idea of the forum, but I really appreciate you being a guest.
Yeah, of
as
course.
well.
It's such an honor, Diane. Thank you so much. It's been fun to see the community that you've built in this space, and it's super exciting to get a chance to integrate more with people. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. It's been a fun experience. I think sometimes we just say yes to God on things and we don't really
yeah.
know
Yeah.
where it's going to go or what's going to happen. But it's been a really fun community of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my favorite part about Take Courage, I am going after vulnerability. Like that's not always been a big thing for me. That was a scary topic. And so as I've grown in identity, and I know we're going to get into that, that has been just a core value: transparency, vulnerability, breaking shame. And so that's the core of this group, that I want people to feel safe, feel heard, and get connected to other people like you and the other people that I've had on that have a message, have something in their heart. And I'm really about empowering people and connecting people with other powerful people that want to empower people to go after their goals and their visions. So I believe you're one of those people, and that's why I asked you to come on today.
Well, thank
So
you so much. I really appreciate it. The opportunity to just share my journey and what I've learned along the way is exciting and such an honor. So, I appreciate it.
yeah, I'm excited to hear as well and get to know you more. So let's just see who's on. Let's see. Hi, Cassie. Nice to see you on, Cassie. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Sylvie. As you come on, just let us know that you're on. I'm on with Miranda Trudeau, and we're going to go ahead and jump in, Miranda, because I know we have a lot of content. So as people come on, they'll let us know that they're on, and we'll do question and answer at the end. So if you're on right now, just save your questions for the end, but go ahead and make comments and interact, and we'll go from there. So you ready to get started?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So hi, everyone. I'm on with Miranda Trudeau tonight. Miranda has been married to Jeff Trudeau for 3 years. Did you just get your puppy?
We did, yeah, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay, that's a fun experience.
Yeah.
And her name's Ayla.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting. It's kind of like having a newborn in a way.
Very much. We're definitely learning. It's a new experience for us. And so I grew up around dogs. So I have a tad bit of experience more than a normal person as far as what it takes to go into it. So,
Yeah.
but it still has been quite the learning curve for us because we have been just us for 3 years. So
Yes.
we are adding another living thing to our bunch and family. So.
Right, and one hard to communicate with all the
Yes,
time.
exactly. Yeah. It'd
Right.
be really convenient if they spoke English and
Yes.
understood when you want them to do something or not do something.
Yep, absolutely. We got one. We had a new puppy in 2019, and so it was a big change going from 1 to 2. So I won't
Yeah.
go more than that.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
but yeah. So Miranda also, she's an author and a speaker. She published a book in 2000. Was it 2019?
Yes. Yep. Your teacher said June.
2019. Okay. Be You Beloved.
Mm-hmm.
And this book is absolutely amazing. She goes after in the book uncovering true identity and overcoming lies, which we're going to touch on tonight. Miranda's also a coach. She specifically um, goes after goal setting, basically, right, Miranda?
Yeah,
That's
I
the
like to
main
help walk
key.
people through when they have an idea or a dream in their heart, how to actually implement it in their life and make it a reality. So super fun for me, and it's really fun to watch people walk into what's on their heart.
That's amazing. Yeah, so you'll be able to connect with Miranda, and I'll put her contact information down. So if you're looking to read her book, she's going to be talking about that tonight. You're going to hear the message in her heart and just revelation that's going to flow from her. And so if you are interested in buying her book or connecting with her for coaching, Miranda, part of the reason why I wanted to have you on was because, as you know, in January, we started with setting people up for success, was basically what God put on my heart. I wanted to, we had Jim Baker on a couple of weeks ago talking about kingdom wealth, finances, getting things in order. He has that saying, that God will give us provision for our vision. And so, really setting people up for success, but knowing that you focus and you have a target on goal setting, chasing after your dreams. I love that you wrote a book. I know that tonight we'll be talking about even practical steps
Yeah.
in going after our dreams and going after our goals. And also, though, these roadblocks and these lies that we believe that stop us from dreaming big and stop us from stepping into our destiny. And so I'm super excited to get into this. And so if you're watching right now, this is an area that Miranda's an expert in. And so if you feel led, just reach out to her through the site that we'll put down, and you will be able to connect with her. So, Miranda, do you want to add anything before we jump in?
I don't think so. Actually, you covered it very well. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So, as I said, our focus in January is on finances, kingdom wealth, goal setting, implementing strategy, making dreams become a reality, and identifying roadblocks. And, we have a lot of real discussion in the group, as you know. And, there are a lot of people that came on and they were saying, like members of the group saying, yeah, I have huge goals for 2020. Like I want to build a business, I want to build ministry, or I have plans for retirement or whatever it might be. Like they're dreaming big and they have some really big goals. And then I've had other people reach out to me and say, I'm basically in survival. Like I'm lucky if I get up in the morning and I can brush my teeth. And to some, that sounds like what? But to others, I've been there in my life in really difficult times in that survival state. And I was really thinking about this, like, how do I navigate these two situations where there's people over here in survival, and then there's others over here wanting to take a great risk. And I started thinking about it, and no matter what space that you're in, and if you're watching tonight, whether you're over here in survival or you're over here wanting to build big dreams and goals, we all have barriers. We all have lies to overcome. I've had to overcome a ton of lies that were attached to shame and break shame off of my life. And those things, those times of shame and those lies are the things that we need to overcome no matter where we're at, and really dive into uncovering, like you say in your book, your true identity.
Yeah.
And so, Miranda, I just want to jump in, and I was wondering, would you be open to share your journey, of uncovering lies and finding true identity, and just about your process with, what made you write your book?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to. Yeah, I as I went through the process of writing the book, I really discovered more of what led me to that place. And it took me back to when we're children, we're in these like stages where our identity is coming from other people. And it's healthy. Like you're supposed to get your identity from your parents or the people around you as a child. You gain
Mhm.
everything you think about yourself and the world around you from those authority figures in your life. And as you grow up, it's a real thing in everybody's life to reach a point where you have to decide, okay, what do I actually believe about myself, from
Mhm.
myself or from my faith, or just from the people in front of me that are the most important, not necessarily from every person speaking to me. And so I remember getting to college and realizing, as I walked through my 4 years of college, that I took on so much identity from not only my parents and the authority figures that were in my life, but also from significant others, or from bosses, or
Mhm.
from professors, or whatever it was that I had teachers or friends or boyfriends saying about me. That was what I took on as my identity, because I'd been taught is from childhood to take what I believed about myself from the people that were around me and speaking into me. And most of the time they were speaking life into me, but then you reach people who aren't speaking life into you, and you almost like fuse those words that they say to your heart, and they become
Mhm.
part of who you are. And it's like a
Mhm.
teacher, and it's not someone that should have a lasting
Right.
impact or voice into your life, but you have all these voices speaking to you. And by the
Mhm.
time I was done with college, I was feeling extremely unfulfilled and frustrated with what I thought or what I didn't even know about myself. I mean, I had a degree, I walked through the process. I thought that, getting the job would, or, figuring out what I wanted to do with my life would fulfill me in some way. And I had my faith, and I had what I thought God thought about me. But it wasn't, it didn't feel solid or like a foundation
Mhm.
that really was like, yes, I agree with all of these things. And there was a lot of things about myself that I actually didn't like very much. And
Mhm.
as I reached the point where I was willing to admit, like, I'm not who I want to be in my life, and the
Mhm.
things that the people around me are speaking over me aren't necessarily things that I want to be spoken over me, even if they are the truth in the moment. And so I got married in the end of 2016, and started in a journey of transition and redefinition. When you get married, you're separating from family. I was really young, and so I think I was like 21 when we got engaged, and 22 when I got married. And so I went through college and finishing college, and then jumped straight into a season of transition with my family, with my life, with incorporating now another human being into all of my daily routines. And it became a huge 2017 was a huge year for me of just figuring out like who I was and what I believed
Mhm.
about myself. And it really, like, marriage pulled it out of me a lot, because somebody else needs you to be you in
Mhm.
their life, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I like didn't even know who I was. I felt like so much. And so
Yeah.
I had to be really intentional and serious about this journey of uncovering what my identity was, like my life and my marriage and my family relationships and my faith, that all depended on me taking this journey seriously. And so 2017 was really just a discovery year for me to walk
Mhm.
out what it looked like to have a rooted foundation and know confidently who I was and what I carried, and still be open for growth, of course, like always
Yeah.
being open to grow in who you are or who you believe that you are. But
Mhm.
it was just a rooting of like, what are the core things about myself that I know to be true? And what are the things that I want to be true about myself that I am not yet? And how can I
Yeah.
actively pursue that? And so I really wrote my book out of that season. I started writing it in 2018, the end of 2018. And so I'd gone through about a year and a half of intense redefinition and
Yeah.
growth, and then sat down and just started to catalog all of it. And it really grew into this book to walk through other people's redefinition journey with them and encourage them that there are encouraging truths about who they are that are foundational to who they were made to be. And
Mhm.
it's not all negative or like striving driven, but that there are
Yeah.
things that you were created to be. And there's a way to engage growth to be who you want to be as well, and you're not just stuck
Mhm.
in the season that you're in right now. And so it's been a really fun journey of just uncovering. It's been extremely it takes a lot of vulnerability. Like you said, engaging that is an intentional choice. And so as I engaged vulnerability and was honest with myself and the people around me about what I thought about myself or the things that really like, triggered me or stuck with me that people would say, I was able to draw out what I believed about myself and figure out what I was going to actually intentionally choose as far as my identity goes. And, in my personal journey, my faith was a huge piece of it. And so asking the Lord, who did you create me to be? And what are the words that you would speak over me first? And really starting to partner with those words as identity as opposed to the other things I'd fused to my heart because of other people in my life. And so that's kind of like in a very brief nutshell what led me to writing the book. But yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that piece of your story. I know there's like years to like unpack, but in a very small period of time. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And
Yeah.
so what did that, I'm going to get into with you, helping other people walk through that. But besides like, so faith is a big part for you. So you said you were sitting down with God, you would go over probably truth and lies and having him speak to you and speak the truth to you. Did you do any processes like, I believe God heals through all different ways. So were you open to counseling or inner healing or anything like that? Was that part of your journey, or was this more of a personal thing and then vulnerability and community?
Yeah, I would say it was both. So I went through high school and college, I went through moments where I engaged counseling in my journey to heal from things in the past that were huge things that were holding me back. And it was so helpful to have somebody outside of the situation really step in and be able to speak life over you. And in my experience, they were Christian counselors. And so I was able to really engage who the Lord says that I was in moments that I was feeling defeated. And so that was extremely helpful. And then as I moved into, okay, this is my life and I want to step into intentionality, I want to live out who I know I was created to be and really get what's on the inside of me, on the outside of me. That's when I engaged the community around me a lot and gave them permission to challenge me when it came to being honest about who I was or areas for growth in the most encouraging way. Like Jeffrey, my husband, has been the best when it comes to this. And he's able to say, hey, like take a breath here. This isn't who you are. This is a lie that's inside of you. It's not what I think of you. That expectation that you're struggling with right now isn't something anybody's ever told you is an expectation. Like you don't have to do the dishes every day to be a good wife. And so it became real conversations every day of like, okay, I need to grow in what I believe about myself and really release unnecessary things and weights that I'm carrying. And so it was kind of a mix of both. I did things like Sozo, which is inner healing as well. And I had moments like that and counseling that were more long-term, and then just community growth and in really intentional conversations and open doors for people that I trust that are in my circle to speak to me the truth about who I am and the truth about where I have room for growth as well.
Wow, that's powerful. I feel like I'm talking to myself right now when you're sharing, because a lot of this is similar to my journey, and I believe God works through all different avenues. So yes, I did the inner healing and counseling, and but I think a lot of my healing came through trusted relationships and vulnerability, and I know that's super scary for a lot of people, and I wasn't always willing to go there. But I know that there's really a part of healing that comes in community and in groups that you cannot get alone, not even with just God. Even though we hear like God is the answer, He's not the only answer. He created community and to show love and gain healing through that. So I love that you brought that up. That's amazing. And also I was laughing when you said, about the expectations that we put on ourselves in marriage. And I'm new to marriage in the past year, and we're coming up on our 1 year anniversary. But there are a lot of those moments where I've learned in this first year, like, wow, I'm transferring this expectation that I put on myself fully on my husband. And then I'm like, oh yeah, you want me to, like you said, do the dishes every day or do this and this. He's like,
Yeah.
you can't say that. And I'm like, I swore you said that, it feels real.
You're like,
But
that's normal, right? Like me doing
right.
these things for you, that's normal.
Yeah, but there's a lot of expectations in marriage, and there's a lot of things that come out in marriage.
Mhm.
And whether it's, wow, I need an upgrade of perspective in my identity, or, what is this thing that's coming up right now? And what am I going to do about it? And it's a mirror. Like I heard that before I got married. Marriage is like a mirror,
Mhm.
magnified. So
Indeed it is.
I love that you brought that up, because that's similar to me, and
Yeah.
what I'm going through too. So thank you.
Yeah.
So for the person watching tonight that feels really stuck and they're like, Miranda, I'm where you're at. Like I'm in my 20s, or maybe I'm in my 60s or 70s, and I still don't feel like I know who I am. And I term identity, and I don't know how to get there. What would you say to that person tonight that feels stuck? Like, how would you encourage them to take the first step, and what would that first step look like?
Yeah. So I think there's two pieces to this. So I've heard so many people say, I don't they haven't always necessarily put it in these words, but like I don't really have an identity. Like I'm just who I am. I'm walking through every day. I'm going to my job. I'm being a great mother or a great husband or, a great sister or daughter. And I don't have like anything like real pinpoint, like I am this or I do this. And so I encourage you to know that identity isn't ever what you do, it's who you are. And you are someone, like you are
Mhm.
someone. So you have
Yeah.
characteristics, whether it's how you're approaching your boss or your coworkers or your children, or maybe you travel a bunch and it's how you interact with other people in general. So you are someone and you have an identity. And the more that we step into intentionally realizing who we already are, the easier it is to grow into who we want to be. And so I would encourage you to make a list of the top 5 attributes that you believe are true about yourself. So this is
Mhm.
the first thing, is just really being aware of who you are. So I can sit down and
Yeah.
say, okay, I know that I am generous. And I did this back a couple years ago. And it's really
Mhm.
powerful to sit and actually
Yeah.
say, like, Miranda, who do you think you are? Who do you
Mhm.
think you are? And
Yeah.
write down, like, I am generous, I value relationship, I'm a go-getter, I don't know, I write down all these 5 attributes about myself,
Yeah.
and then write down 5 more attributes that I'd like to see on this list by the end of the year or by next
Yeah.
year or something like that. And it really gives you a target of like, okay, these are the things that I am right now, and these are the things that I want to step into in the next year and really grow to
Mhm.
be. So I've even had moments where I'm like, oh, I'm like a little bit stingier than I'd like to be in my
Yeah.
life. So maybe stingy shows up on my list of 5 things I know to be true about myself. They don't all have to feel like great positive things that you want to keep for the rest of your life. It's
Yeah.
just things that hardcore are true about yourself. And
Mhm.
take that moment and say, okay, are these 5 things that I wrote down, are these things I want to still stay on my list in a
Yeah.
year? Or are there things that I want to grow a little? Like maybe I'm this generous and I want to be like this generous next
Yeah.
year. Or I want to grow in this exact attribute. And so I would encourage
Mhm.
you to write down 5 things that you know to be true about yourself and really look at them and form another list of 5 more things that you want to grow into, because you
Mhm.
are someone and you do have an
Yeah.
identity, and it might not be or feel exactly like you want it to right now. It might not feel like you
Mhm.
are living out your fullest potential or everything inside of you is getting outside of you every single day, or you're serving people the way that you want to. But it all
Mhm.
starts by showing up every single day in these small things. So if I practice generosity, if generosity, which it is a core value of mine, so if I
Mhm.
practice generosity every single day, I'm living out my identity powerfully. It doesn't mean I need to be on a stage speaking to millions of people or, you know,
Yeah.
40 people or 50 people. It just means that I need to be
Yeah.
generous. So I'm generous when I tip people because I
Yeah.
generosity is a very hardcore value of mine, and I look for ways to bless people around me because that's one of mine. So maybe yours is just to like be full of love to everybody that you meet, no matter how different they are from you. Or maybe it's to just practice kindness every day in a special
Mhm.
way. And so you really hone in on those pay it forward challenges, or whatever that looks like. And so it starts
Yeah.
every single day. Your identity, knowing who you are and growing into who you want to be, all starts every day with intentional acts of living out who you want to be. And so if I write down stingy on my thing and I want to be generous, I have to be intentional every day to take steps of generosity and realize that I can grow exactly where I'm at. I don't need to have all the opportunities or even have all the money. I just have to be intentional with the choices I'm making in my interactions with other people every single day.
Wow, that's powerful. So yeah, intentionality is what you're saying, and intentionality with the list as well. And I love that because I remember a time in my life where I dealt with a lot of self hate, and I couldn't think of anything that wasn't performance driven that I could say about myself. Like it was always, I'm a hard worker or I'm successful in this area. It wasn't about the core of who I was. And I realized as I walked through receiving my identity from God, knowing truth, breaking shame, overcoming lies, which was all very intentional work. And I love that. I like processes. I
Mhm.
like surprises too from God, but it's like
Mhm.
that when I went through that process, I realized it was so easy for me to say great things about myself.
Mhm.
And that list that's maybe hard when you first step out and you're like, yeah, I don't know who I am. Like, I don't have one good thing to
Mhm.
say about myself. Like, all of the sudden, you begin to see who you really are
Mhm.
and you're proud and you're able to say it to others without feeling pride or,
Mhm.
shameful because you're talking good about yourself.
Yeah, and they become like core rooted truths for you. Like if I'm a tree and I'm digging roots and my roots include, generosity or kindness or love, then I know when I'm acting that way or when I'm sharing that piece of my heart with people, it's not boastful, it's just true. And as we
Yes.
look into who the Lord says that we are, especially as I engaged, faith being such a huge part of my journey and I
Yeah.
engaged that and I said, I feel at times I feel powerless against certain people in my life.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, no, I created you with authority. And so the
Yeah.
lie for you is that you don't have power. And the truth is that I gave you power through Jesus. And so
Yeah.
being able to really switch out, it's not even just about identifying who you think you are and setting
Mhm.
goals to be somebody else next year or whatever, but it's
Mhm.
really like, who was I created to be? Like, what lies fused to my heart when I was
Mhm.
younger from
Yeah.
whoever for whatever reason, and maybe they were in good intentions and it wasn't supposed to hurt you, but it did, and it ended up becoming an identity statement for you. So what
Yeah.
of those things are fused that I need to unfuse and relink with
Mhm.
something that the Lord says about me? And
Mhm.
it's really powerful when we start to realize just how many lies like creep into
Yeah.
everything that we do. And I
Yeah.
like generally live off the basis that if I highly emotionally react to something, there's
Mhm.
something partnered
Yeah.
there. It could be
Yeah.
good, but a lot of times it's not. It's
Right.
not.
Exactly.
And I can go and say, whoa, 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 why did this one comment from somebody send me, into a whole night at home that I locked myself inside and
Yeah.
didn't want to do anything? And what lie
Mhm.
there has fused that I need to unpartner with? And it
Right.
seems like I also like processes. And so I'm like, oh, I just
Yeah.
find it, identify it, I
Yeah.
unpartner with it, and I
Yeah.
move forward and I grow. And
Yeah.
sometimes that process takes a year or 10 years to
Yeah.
do. So give yourself so much grace in this. Like you are an ever developing, growing person. There's so many
Mhm.
situations that I can't even begin to understand in your life that might have caused those moments of partnership. And so every day it's just an intentional journey of, hey, I'm going to be really, really intentional with who I believe that I am and what I partner with, the words that I partner with, and use that as the catalyst to grow into an identity that is true about me.
Yes, absolutely. That's amazing. You said so many things that I love, and I want to touch on some of it because one thing I know, like as you grow in your identity and you get that word from God, that truth from God, that changes everything.
Mhm.
And right now I'm reading a book. It's called The Invitation by Tony Stolfus. Have you read that book yet?
I haven't yet, no.
You may love it. I love it, and it's life changing because it actually goes after like desires that we have in our heart. And so we all get triggered, right? So you talked about triggers. And when we get triggered, we can go to like this desire wheel. Like, why am I triggered? What am I looking for? Like, what's the desire? Oh, okay. I'm looking for security and comfort in this moment. Instead of trying to get it over here, what was triggering me, how can I get it from God? And then you immediately go to like Jesus, Holy Spirit, Father, God, and get that truth from them. It's kind of like inner healing work, right? But in the sense where they're speaking directly to you. And if you're watching right now, you might say, that sounds strange. But it is so absolutely powerful. And I've done this a lot in my life because, like you, I've been very intentional. But this has been so simple for me to just like sit with Jesus and ask a lot of questions and just have conversation. And when that truth comes, it pierces our heart. Different than if you were saying it to me, like all the amazing things that you loved about me. Like when Jesus says one thing, it totally shifts everything. And so, where I want to go with that too is like, once we know our identity, especially if it's coming from God, we're receiving that truth from God, or we're doing practical exercises. When voices come in, like they will, you mentioned earlier, a teacher, or maybe it's a spouse, or maybe whoever, a parent, they can say things to you, but when you're rooted and grounded in knowing your identity, you won't be shaken the way that you were shaken when you didn't know your identity at all, and you're fusing with those lies.
Yeah.
So so I love that you brought that up, because it's super powerful, both faith but also practical intentional steps as well.
Yeah. And then remembering too that even this mindset of feeling stuck, like if you feel stuck and you don't know where to go or don't know how to step into this next part of your life, there are real things, of course, that can happen in your life that are roadblocks to you walking. So it can be relationships or just real, job situations or unhealthy things that are happening. But being stuck is a mindset. It's like what we focus on grows. That's one of my favorite quotes ever. And so what we focus on grows. And as we focus on, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I can't do this, I can't move forward, I'm only ever going to be this, I'm only these three things, whatever that person said about me is so true, and I shouldn't even try to move forward. It starts to wire in our brain, like, in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, but I know there's truth to it, and there's people who do research on this, and it's so powerful, but it wires in our brain that we can't go anywhere. Like, your words are so powerful. And as you even step into partnering with this mindset that says I'm stuck and I can't move forward, it actually doesn't help your journey to growing. And so maybe saying, hey, there's real things around me that are happening, but I'm strong enough to get through this, and I'm strong enough to be intentional and to really move and grow. And there's always an option to move forward and grow even a little bit in moments, and to make really powerful choices that impact your life and not deem your whole situation as stuck. I've been there, and I've taken my whole thing and said, this is it. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do from here. And the grace of the Lord is so powerful, because he comes in and will speak to you in those moments and say, hey, daughter, like, I didn't make you like that. And I'm going to remind you who I am and how strong I am in your weakness. And I'm also going to remind you who you are and who I created you to be. And that's a really powerful moment. But I just want to encourage you, if you're feeling stuck, that you're not stuck, that there's so many people around you. There's this full community here at your disposal, of course, of people who love you and want to encourage you. And then there's real things that you can do in your life and steps you can take, and even just moments to sit and rest in who your Father created you to be, and the truths that he says about you, and the truths that are true about who your dad is, that will help you walk through that. But there's always more in front of you. There's always more to push into. And so you're not going to be where you're at forever. There's so much growth coming for you guys this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that encouragement for everyone. I had mentioned, that we gain focus, acceleration, and momentum in obtaining goals, coming out of that stuck position. once we begin to deal with the heart issues, break shame, know identity, and face fear. So we come out of stuck, like you said, and the biggest part about it is a mindset. Like oftentimes I'll say we're one mindset away from breakthrough, and it's just a perspective shift. And obviously God has the best perspective for us to speak to us. And I want to move into goals a little bit though. And I have a model that I've used for myself for a long time, or have helped others with it, and for identifying goals. So I've identified the goals that I have. Like, I'm purposeful in the beginning of the year. I ask God for a word, and then I go after that. Like, I believe God for it, I contend for it, but at the same time, I have strategy as well where I need to partner. So if you're watching this, we can't just wait on the things that God says. We also have to partner with that. But then I create the strategy, and it's not me creating. I feel I'm co-creating with God and dreaming with God. And then you mentioned like taking steps. And so for me, I take one step at a time. It's practical. And I heard somebody say a long time ago, how do you eat an elephant? And I equate that to like a big dream, and it's one bite at a time. And so I feel like, it's one step at a time. And then I feel like this is really important. We have to tweak the process and see like what is working for us and what's not working for us. And then I think this is a huge part, asking for help. Like, the next step to me is asking for help when we do get stuck, or if we tweak it and it's still not working, not giving up. And so the last step is not giving up, because I think oftentimes, especially like at the beginning of the year, we're all about New Year's resolutions, but we don't really have like a definite strategy. And when things stop working and people get frustrated, they just quit. They don't tweak that process. And so you, Miranda, being someone who coaches people in goal setting, and this being an area of strength for you, I have my model. I have what works for me. What can you share with the people watching right now that have goals and they want to follow through? And maybe they even have disappointment. They're like, I don't even know if I should start because of fear of failure. Can you talk practically to the audience about your process?
Yeah, of course. And honestly, mine's so similar to yours. What you've built in that, Diane, is so true. Like, having goals, identifying hard goals, and I always say they need to be measurable and attainable. So you have to have measurable goals. I've fallen into the like, I'm gonna work out this year, and like, what does that even mean? And what are the actual boundaries I'm putting on that, as opposed to like, hey, I want to make it once a week to the gym, or I want to get myself moving for 20 minutes every day. Make sure your goals are measurable so you can say, yes, I checked that off today, or no, I didn't check that off today, and there's room for me to grow tomorrow. And then make sure they're attainable goals. Like, every single person is different. And so it's so easy, especially with social media today, to fall into the trap of comparison. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we move on today. But really, it's so easy to fall into that space. And so making sure that the goals are attainable for you. You're your own unique person, and what may seem like a mountain to you might seem like a tiny little bump to somebody else, but what seems like a bump to you is a mountain to somebody else. So make sure that the goals are for you specifically, and you're not, if nobody ever read your goal sheet ever this year, are you pleased with how you're challenging yourself? Not necessarily is somebody else saying like, oh my gosh, they're going to write a book. That's so amazing. And you're, doing it because you're like, yes, this is the goal that I should. But maybe your goal is, hey, I'm going to get my whole book outlined this year. Like, let's just outline the book and dream into what this could be. Or maybe I'm going to build a community this year before I even start to write the book. Or that's just like a personal one for me that I just walked through. So that's my example there. But yeah, make sure they're measurable and attainable for you. And then the one step at a time, I totally agree with that. And stepping into like, what are practical things that I can do to make this, again, the check on, check off type things. And so even beyond your built out system, I really encourage people to start with thankfulness. Like anytime that I sit down to start writing goals, it's almost a part of my process that I lead with thankfulness, because if you start your journey in a positive mindset, you're going to accomplish way more than coming in and saying, and I've done this, so like all the understanding here, but coming in and saying, oh, I suck and I need to get better. So I'm going to set this goal that I'm now going to do this thing that's going to make me better. So I'm not, I'm a very organized person, but, I'm so cluttery and my life is chaotic. So I stink at this thing and I need to get better at this thing. So I'm going to set goals that every day I'm going to clean and organize one space of my house. Like we've all sat down and stepped in that way where we're like, dang, I have so much growth to do and I'm terrible at this. And so this must be my first goal that I set for my year specifically, since, it's timely with it being January right now. But lead with thankfulness, like lead with that positive mindset, not even of I'm terrible at this, but hey, like I'm worth this investment in myself. And I always speak that over me. Like I'm worth the investment that I'm making with my goals. I'm worth the investment that other people make into me when it comes to my goals. And it's not about me sucking and needing to get better. It's about being on a growth process. So everybody starts somewhere. Absolutely everybody's in process. Every person that you see that's exceeded in their career or really just grown to a level of excellence that you really desire to have in your space or your niche, everyone's been in a process and they're still in a process. Like people are like this, there's somebody that's like sitting at home today, their kids are in bed or running around crazy before they go to bed. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm only here. I don't know where I'm going. I don't even know how to get started on these goals. And I'm not great at doing this thing. And so I need to be better at doing this thing. And I just encourage you to squash that negative mindset right now, because you are capable of everything that's inside of you. And every person that you see out there that's doing the thing that you really want to do, they were in your position at one point and they engaged the process of growth and moved forward, and they're still in a process of growth. So that never stops at all. And so I really encourage people to just sit down and start with that positive attitude, because you're going to get way more done if you lead out of a growth mindset versus one that says, I'm terrible at this thing and I need to get better. That might be a very short-term motivator, but it's not a long-term motivator. And so quickly we give up and we settle on, well, I'm just terrible at this. And instead of saying, hey, no, I'm capable of change and I'm capable of growth and this is important to me. And so I'm going to engage it. And then, my second, part of the process, just setting those goals that are measurable and attainable. I've worked with the SMART goal model before. It's really helpful just to start. So if you guys have never heard of it, you can just Google SMART goals, SMART, and measurable and attainable are two of the M and the A in that. And it makes it realistic. Set yourself some dates and deadlines for the things that you want to get done. If you want to write a book this year, I encourage you to look up, let me think of another example. If you want to lose 20 pounds this year, I encourage you to look up realistically what's your time slot available every single week for accomplishing this goal, and then set dates for yourself, set deadlines. Say, hey, by this date, I want to check in again. I want to see where I'm at. I want to see if I'm moving forward. I want to see if I've, by the quarter way through the year, if I've hit a quarter of the number of my goal. And if not, how are we going to pivot and readjust and ask for help and move forward with the rest of my goal? And then give yourself so much encouragement along the way. Think about how parents stand at the side of their kids' sports games and they cheer like crazy for them. I mean, sports parents are some of the nuttiest people I've ever seen in my life. And I played every sport growing up, and my family was just, it's like, my child is running a marathon and winning a medal. And think about how encouraging that, if you're a parent, that love and encouragement you have for your child, that they can do anything. And I encourage you to flip that around and have that towards yourself. Have that level of encouragement for yourself and your own dream, because you can do it and you're capable of it, and you're worth the investment that you're making in yourself. And so if you're not on board and you don't believe in yourself, then you can't really expect anybody else to be on board and believe in yourself either. It starts with you and what you put out, that energy you put out of, I can do this and I've got this and I'm going to grow. And even if I don't make it, I'm still growing and I'm learning along the way. That's going to affect more change in your life than having the mindset of, I'm terrible at this, and I just need to set, some little goals that I'm probably not going to make. It's such a different mindset there. And then just celebrate every single step of your process. This is your journey. This is not anybody else's journey. This world needs you to be you. I like to think about it like, if I'm trying to be her, whoever her is, if I'm trying to be her, I can't be her because her is already taken. And so the world needs me to be me, not me to be her or him or that other person. And the most people in this life, in your life, in this world, are going to be influenced by you when you really walk out the best version of yourself, not the best version of Jennifer Lopez or Chrissy Teigen or whatever amazing person that you envy in your life, or that you really see successful, Christine Kane, or any of these women that are powerful in my life, that I look up to. So this world needs you to be the best version of you, not the version of them that you're trying to be. And so celebrate yourself with thankfulness along the way. I really feel like mindsets is such a huge leader when it comes to walking out and accomplishing your goals. So
wow, that was so powerful. Yeah, thank you, Miranda. Yeah, if you're watching, if you're just tuning in now, even just backtrack 5 minutes or so, but that was very powerful. Such great encouragement and wisdom. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that you brought up, comparison, because with social media, it's huge now. I know so many people, and actually, there was a time in my life a few years back where I wasn't able to, or I was choosing not to be in that place of thankfulness. And I was looking at what I didn't have. And it was difficult for me. I had to take a break from social media. And some people, they have to do that. And I say, give yourself permission to do that. If you're struggling and as you're on a journey of receiving your identity and learning identity, because it is difficult. Comparison's a real thing. This week I talked about that phrase, we rise by lifting others, and powerful people empower others. But I believe it takes time to get there. We need to learn identity, or, we might come to a bump in the road where maybe we are struggling with that. And then all of a sudden we go, what's going on inside right now? That this is such a struggle for me when I was like mastering this a month ago. And so it's an opportunity for growth for us. But comparison, whether you're a man or a woman, it's a real thing. And but I love what you said. Like, you can't be someone else; they're already in that place. And when we focus on God and what's ahead, and what our purpose is and our goals, we don't have time to look side to side at what everybody else is doing. But when we do, we're able to encourage them and promote them and be happy for other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Miranda, I know we have till 9, and I want to give you time for question and answer. So I do want to ask you though, who would you say we ask for help when we need it?
Yeah. So I have really leaned so heavily on my support system when I've needed help. So it also kind of depends on what area you're searching for help in. And I think if we're talking about emotional growth and learning to figure out who the Lord says that we are and honing in on those spiritual truths, like, go to somebody in your life that's living out that thing that you crave and ask them. Like, I remember when I was, oh my gosh, I think I was 17 or 18. I had this desire to have a mentor. I really wanted like a spiritual mentor. And so I remember going through the process of thinking through who was in my world, whether I was really close to them or not. And I ended up landing on this woman that I didn't even really know, but she was around me a ton in our church circles. And I just really had an eye for the things that she was doing so well that I really wanted to do as a young woman. And so I remember going up to her one Sunday and I said, hey, I've been thinking about this. Now, this had been on my heart at the moment. It had been on my heart for probably a month. I'd been talking to different people, and she was like caught off guard because she didn't really know who I was. But I walked up and I was like, hey, this is so strange, but I've really been praying about this. And I'm searching for someone to meet with once a week that will help me walk out discovering my identity and what I want to do, and just like healing from things that are happening and gaining perspective on the world outside of my own. And would you be that person for me? And she said she wanted to take some time and think about it, think about the commitment. And she ended up becoming one of the biggest people in my life that influenced growth for me from like 18 until 21. And so I had so much time with her family. And so think about the people in your life. Who would you say right now, if you're wanting to grow in business, who would you say in your life that you have direct access to via text or phone call, or even email or Facebook message, but you know them and you've met them in person? Who in your life is walking out what you want to walk out well, and reach out to them? And maybe it's 5 people, and you start at the top of the list and you go down. Just because somebody says they can't manage that commitment right now to walking through growth with you doesn't mean that you're not worth their commitment. So it just means that they're busy, they have their own life, and that's okay. And it's not the right person or the right time for that connection. And so keep going down the list and say, okay, this is something I'm really pushing into, and figure out something measurable to ask from them. That's my other like tiny piece of encouragement. Whether you want once a week or you want coaching, or you're willing to contribute and add value to them with money for in exchange for their coaching, something like that, be very clear about what you're asking for when you ask them. But as far as who to ask, really just assess the people around you. And then we all have a support system, from our inner circle, that's 3 or 4 people, all the way to the acquaintances on the outside. And you serve in other people's world and they serve in your world. Even if you don't really realize that that's happening, every relationship has that exchange. And so don't be afraid to ask for somebody to serve in a higher capacity in your world. And so there's like amazing trainings. I'll like shamelessly plug Drew Neal is amazing, and he talks all the time about support systems, and he does coaching specifically in this area. And so if you're looking exactly for that, he's the person to reach out to. But yeah, there's so many people around you. Everyone has people resources. Even if you feel isolated, you have connections. You're so many years old, you've met people along the way, and just ask people for help. Don't be afraid. This is a powerful choice for you to choose growth in your journey. This isn't something to be ashamed of, or something to say, I'm not good enough and I need someone better than me. That's like such a lie that I'm going to smash, because you're engaging growth, and that's like 10,000 gold stars for you. I went to school for teaching, so all the gold stars will be given to you, because you saying yes to this journey of growth is really powerful. And asking people for help is a powerful question. And you're actually telling them that they have so much value, that you see so much value in who they are, that you want them to contribute to you. And that's extremely honoring. And so I would encourage you to find, even if it's one person, if you're feeling stuck, find one person this week that you're going to ask to start to chat things out with you, whether it's like, I'm hitting this goal this year, or just like, hey, I'm feeling very stuck and I don't know what to do, and I want to bring you into this space I'm in because I know you're doing this thing really well. Would you mind, serving in a higher capacity in my world than you are right now? So
yeah, that's incredible. That's so good. Assessing who's around you now. And I never even really thought of it in such a practical way. And we're blessed to be around so many amazing people that we can draw from.
yeah.
Not everyone has that. So I love that you said, even if it's like one person, and that one person might connect you into their world of other people that they know that can help you. And that's one thing I'm about with Take Courage, bringing people on for the interviews, because there's so many amazing people around me, and I'm like, including yourself, that I want other people to connect to people with a message. And like yourself, Miranda's a coach. If you're watching and you're just jumping on later, she's someone that's incredible with goal setting. So if you're watching right now, you can connect with her, and I'll put her website on and everything later. However, you can connect with her if you're saying, I need somebody with goal setting. I need somebody to help me walk through, keep me accountable, and be able to walk me through that. And we've had other coaches on, like you said, there are people that have specific areas that can really help us. So that was so good, just seeing who's in our circle, who's around us now.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Now, Miranda, I just wanted to quick, because I know, time's running out. And you wrote a book, and that's been a huge, that's something on my heart. Those are plans that I have in different ways. And there's been a lot of people that have expressed, like, I want to write a devotional, or, I have a curriculum I want to write, some type of teaching material, or the book on my heart. And I wondered, for me, I'm a person, I do research. Okay, how do I start? But can you share with me and with the audience your process with that? You don't have to get detailed with it, but just some practical steps of starting that and walking it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So my first piece of advice is just start. That's so powerful. When I wrote my first book, which was this one, Be You Beloved, that was released, I sat down and started to just write my story. I knew there was something in my story that I wanted to share. So I spent time writing out my entire story. So I wrote the entire first draft of the book within 6 months, and then connected with a publisher who helped me walk through and draw out the pieces of identity in it. But that was one method, was just to write. So if it's, especially if it's story based and it's like more of a memoir of your journey and the truths that came out of your journey, just sit down and start to catalog. Like, I started from when I was young, and I worked my way all the way up to where, I am now. And I just wrote and wrote and wrote everything that I could think of that was powerful in my life, every truth. And it just flowed for me. And I edited it later, and my book looks totally different now than it did when I started, but I started. And then the books that I've started since then, I have always a slew of ideas on what to write next. So it all starts with outlines for me now. And so I would encourage you, if you know what you want to write about, especially if it's more curriculum or devotional based, sit down and write out an outline. And so my publisher has us walk through this process as well, but you get down your title and your subtitle, and then you outline every single chapter or day of your devotional that you're wanting to write. And you write out all the topics and a description of what that chapter is going to be. And the description is about a paragraph. And so I have outlines for books that I'm going to write that are literally the whole outline of my entire book and what it will be. And it might pivot and adjust as I go to write it, but this really helps like package in really like 2 to 3 pages what book I'm writing, what the intention is. I outline who the audience is, who do I really want to reach, and you want to be as specific as possible when you're writing the audience. Don't just put women or just put moms, or just like, you really want to hone in as much as possible. And be intentional in your writing towards one specific type of person. But I would encourage you to sit and write out your outline. And then once you have your outline and your chapters and your little paragraph, it makes it so much more attainable for some reason to sit down and say, okay, I'm writing chapter 1 today, or I'm writing chapter 7 because I'm feeling inspired about this topic. And I already know what it's going to be about. I know who I'm writing to. I know what the purpose of my book as a whole is. So I know how this one chapter fits into it. And so I can sit down and write 5,000 words on this, knowing that it's a piece of the whole puzzle, and it feels way more possible than just sitting down and saying, I don't know where to start, and I'm just going to write on this one thing.
Yeah, that's incredible. So how do you find your publisher? How would somebody find their publisher? What do they look for? And what does the publisher actually do?
Yeah. So that's a huge question, and there's a lot of pieces to that. But you can Google traditional publishing options, and you can find places like Zondervan or HarperCollins or things that you've heard of like that. And generally, the process of going through that very traditional route of publishing is to get a book agent. So that's a job that somebody has, and they represent you in your book to publishers so that people will listen to you because you have someone you're paying to pitch your idea to them. So you can Google, and there's a ton of resources about how to find a book agent in your area, or just how to find one that serves the publishers that you're seeking to get in with. And that is one of the reasons that process costs lots of money, and it's very thorough in how it goes. And so it's a great journey for a lot of people. But that is why self-publishing became so revolutionary, was because it gave you the permission to publish your own book. And so there's a lot of resources with self-publishing where you can hire out your editor and hire out your formatter from like third-party type experiences, but then you're publishing your book. And Amazon has a really great publishing mechanism for self-publishing called Create Space. I actually think they just renamed it in the last 6 months, but that's what it was called 6 months ago. But Amazon has a publishing arm where you can basically upload your book, and they'll help you get it into print and publication. And then the publisher I went through is a Christian publisher, and they don't require a book agent. So I got connected with them through social media. Actually, I randomly saw like an ad type deal for them and found out that I knew some people at the company and was pretty close to the owner of the company, like along my journey there. And so I went with them, and the publisher had my specific publisher called United House Publishing. They're amazing if you're writing a faith-based, life-giving book. They had services like editing, printing, distribution. They helped. They have personal coaching that you walk through throughout the entire process. They have community-based things so you can connect with the other authors there. It felt like a really good fit for me. Publishing in general is expensive, and it was a lot more affordable through them. And so everyone has a different like journey of how they figure all of that out. But it's just research and saying, how can my heart be best represented in the book that I'm writing, and to be done excellently with an editor, with printing and distribution and all of those different mechanisms.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. That just narrowed down so much.
Okay.
It put it in such a good step format, even for myself. And so it was really practical. So thank you so much for sharing those. That I was like, we have to get to this because I wanted more from you on that. So thank you, Miranda. I feel like we could talk forever. It was amazing. Do you have time still for question and answer?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
We have some people. So
of course.
Yeah, thank you so much. There was so much value in today. And I just appreciate you being on.
Yeah, of course. It's such an honor.
Thank you. So yeah, we'll transition into question and answer time. So if you're on and you have any questions for Miranda, whether it's around goal setting, whether it's around identity we talked on, overcoming lies, whatever it might be, even publishing a book, go ahead and put it in comments, and we will go ahead and ask Miranda that. So we'll just wait a couple of minutes, Miranda. And, also we have a lot of viewers later as well. I told you, because the group is growing, but it's like, it's all over the world. People are from all over. So even later, you may get some questions. But if you're watching right now, or you are watching later, you can connect with Miranda at www.mirandatrudeau.com. And I'll go ahead and put that in comments later for spelling and all. But you can connect with Miranda for coaching, or even if you want to look at her book and order her book. And is there anything else on your site there, Miranda?
I have some other resources. I have a blog on there. You can read some of my other daily thoughts and things like that. But I will try to keep up with the comments over the next week on here as well. So if people have questions and they want to drop them in here to get easy access, I'll do my best to answer anything that you guys have for me. And then, of course, there's contact pages on my website. You can reach out to me. So.
Yeah, and Miranda also speaks, and she does interviews like she has now, and she's been on some podcasts as well. So if you're watching now or you're watching later and you love what she spoke about today, there you can contact her on her site as well for speaking engagements, and you can bring her into whatever circle of influence you have. And I know that she's really open to that as well. Right, Miranda? I'm here
to add value in as many places as I can. So,
yeah, that's awesome. So we do have a question. Well, first, Danielle Hill said, "You're just amazing." That's all.
I love you, Danielle.
Hi, Danielle. Glad that you're on and watching. That was great. Christina Taylor says, "How long did it take for you to write your book?"
So my first draft of my book took 6 months. Everyone's so different in how they write. I have worked on other ones, and it's taken me way longer to get through it. But On my
Yeah.
first one, I honed in. It was story based, so it was pretty simple to start with my first draft. And so I
Yeah.
wrote the first draft in 6 months, and I took a completed manuscript to the publisher when, when I signed up with them. And then
Yeah.
it took about a year process beyond that point, just over a year, to get my book edited, and it really
Mhm.
morphed into something totally different. And
Yeah.
before it got published, and yeah, editing, the final revisions, distribution, that kind of stuff, all happened within the next year. So the total
Mhm.
process for me was about a year and a half. It is possible. Especially with the publisher I worked with, to do your whole process within a year. And some people walk in not having written any piece of their book yet. I walked in with a full, manuscript draft, and had
Yeah.
my thoughts down. But
Yeah.
it's different for everyone. But yeah, 6 months was my first, like, I'm good with all these chapters and parts and everything, and here's my, like, first official draft.
Yeah. And would you say the more that you need from the publisher and their resources that they offer, the more finances you would need as well?
Yeah,
Would
it's
you
different
would
for
you
every
say that?
it's different for every publisher. I
Mhm.
paid like a flat fee throughout it for to utilize the publisher's resources that were available. They had additional things I could have added to the cost as well that would have made it, I mean, there's like publicity type stuff that I could have added for longer than I did, and things like that. And then
Yeah.
I know that with traditional publishing, you give them like a sum of money in the beginning to help with upfront costs, and then they walk out editing with you. Most traditional publishers have an editor on staff with them, and that's who you majorly work with throughout the process. Is they send you back revisions to make, and you send them back your edits and new chapters and ideas and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely cost can increase, depending on which route that you go. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me see if there's any more questions here. Jared says that was really good advice in the book outline. Just hearing you say it that way makes it seem much more doable.
yeah,
And yeah, that's how I felt as well. So thank you for that.
yeah.
Miranda, before we get off, I just wanted to know: will you speak from your heart to the group, which you already have the whole time? But just for anybody watching, something that's so powerful on your life, obviously, is the overcoming the lies, uncovering true identity. But this part about you that wants to empower other people to be their best self, to to be them, like we said, not compare and just be them. Could you speak from your heart to people watching tonight that maybe are struggling in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. There's If there's one thing I've learned on this whole journey, it's that there's so much inside of you that people in this world need. So I went through all of the insecurities and the frustrations and the discouragement through the journey of, like, is this book even going to do anything? Is this the stuff I'm investing my time and my money into? Is this
Mhm.
really going to impact people? Is starting this Facebook group or launching this business, is this actually going to do something? But there is so much
Yeah.
inside of you that this world needs. And one of
Mhm.
my favorite perspective quotes is on comparison, and it's that comparison kills contentment. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting as you jump into this journey, comparison, it was such a thing for me that I had to really overcome, as far as what was the source of the reasons why I felt unqualified to do what I wanted to do and to get what was inside of me on the outside of me. But I really I had to grow my perspective of realizing that so there's somebody in your situation, in this
Mhm.
situation, let's say that you were in 2 years ago. So I think back to my journey, like 3 years ago, when I was walking through all of this definition and I was trying to jump into this process and write a book and figuring out if I was even qualified to do this. And there's
Yeah.
somebody that is you 3 years ago sitting there waiting for you to show
Yeah.
up and speak life to them. And so
Yeah.
there's so much value inside of you. It doesn't matter if you think that you're good enough or you don't think that you're good enough, or you think that you have the right resources or enough money or all the expertise in the world or access to people that can help you. There is something inside of you that needs to get out. And so the first step to really launching and accomplishing the goals that you want this year, and even really allowing your heart to dream for this year,
Yeah.
is that you need to understand that there are things inside of you that people need. And the more that we
Yeah.
compare ourselves to people, even in our niche, like there's so many other women that have written a book on identity for the age group that I wrote the book for. Like there's somebody else that is doing, the same exact thing in my mind, but their audience is different than my audience. Their voice is different than my voice. Their experience is different than my experience. And so this thing that you're wanting to do, this like dream that's really deep infused in your heart that you want to accomplish, whether you want to open an academy or start a course or whatever it is, this thing that you want to do is unique because it's coming from you, not from somebody else. And so as you step in, just believe in yourself. Like, again, if you're not going to believe in yourself and the dream that's on your heart, it's so hard for other people to partner with that as well. And so the more like strength and like confidence and courage you have and what is inside of you of value, you have value. I know that you have value 100%. So as you figure that out and you allow yourself to believe that you have value, it's going to create this confidence inside of you that you can do this thing that's on your heart and that your voice is unique. I can't speak to women. I don't speak to women the same way that Christine Kane speaks to women or, Sadie Robertson speaks to women, like all these people that are in my awareness of my world. I don't speak to women the same way that they do, but my voice is still valuable because I'm going to reach people that they don't reach because I have a different access to people that they don't have. And so there's something inside of you that this world needs. And so if I can challenge you guys with anything this year, it's to really press into that and hold tight, saying there's something inside of me that somebody needs. And it could be me from 3 years ago. Like there's some woman or man sitting there, 3 years ago saying, oh my gosh, I feel stuck. And it's the place that you felt stuck and you overcame, that you had breakthrough in, and they need you to come back and speak life into them. And so I like to picture that helps me to realize there's a person that I'm helping. This isn't about numbers or book publishing or selling or speaking or getting opportunities or anything like that. It's that there's somebody that's going to be encouraged by something I say, and they're going to go out and do something huge, and they're going to let their heart out a little bit, and they're going to take some risk, and it's going to change other people's lives. And it's so worth it, you guys. Like, it's worth overcoming and growing, and it's so worth it. And you can do this, and I believe in you, and this group believes in you, and it's going to be really powerful as you walk out your heart this year. So
beautiful. Thank you so much, Miranda. It was incredible. I felt I felt like tonight was going to be a night of just freedom. I know I shared that with you, and joy. And I feel both of those things just as you speak. You just bring natural encouragement and empowerment to the audience, both men and women. And so I just really appreciate you being on with us tonight. It was awesome. And I kept you over, so thank you.
It's good. You're so welcome. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, take care. We'll talk soon.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being on tonight with us, with Miranda. If you want to reach out to her, you can reach out to her on www.mirandatrudeau.com. That's in the comments as well. And you can get coaching from her, especially in the area of goal setting. Also, if you're looking to learn more on identity, overcoming lies, that's an area that she also works with people on, and she wrote a book, Be You Beloved. You can also get that book from her website as well. And I hope that you really enjoyed tonight. I know I did. It was so practical and so empowering. And so thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the group. I know we have a lot of new people on in the past couple of weeks. We have so many exciting things coming. We have the prophetic call out. We have incredible speakers coming in February as well. We're diving into a whole new topic. I'll be announcing that. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on tonight with us. So have a great night. Bye.